So I'm fired up. Are you fired up today? I'm so excited that I'm here. A big thank you to Rebecca for inviting me. And I'm looking forward to spending this half an hour or so with you, getting fired up too. Maybe you're already there, and I hope so. Um, but I have a confession for you to start. You see, I wasn't always fired up. There was a time in my life where I gained weight. I didn't trust people. Relationships didn't work for long. Um, I did very well at work. I buried myself in work. In fact, my whole life, I was living to work instead of working to live. And it didn't change. It didn't change until I got to a point. Actually, I'll show you the picture that I got to the point where I saw myself on television. You see, I was called by this agency that I had been doing some consulting work with. And they called me, it was Christmas time, and I was in the mall, I was shopping. And they said, "We have a TV interview at 5 o'clock in Philadelphia." Well, I live 2 hours from Philadelphia. I was in the middle of shopping. It was the first day I was done teaching at the university, and I was in, like sweatpants and a t-shirt. My hair wasn't done, right? I wasn't ready to go on television. So I did the best I could. I got home as fast as I could. I couldn't say no. I tried to say no, but it didn't work. And when I got on television, I felt okay. I was nervous at first, but it wasn't until I saw a video of the television show and saw how I looked. There were a couple things going on. One, my face was very flat. My expression was gone. I I looked dull. And I know I'm not dull, but I looked dull. I had a really bad haircut because I just didn't care. And it was kind of cut out in the sides and long in the back and around the parts that I live in. That's called a mullet, and that certainly is not attractive. I had hit bottom and I needed to get up. I needed to do something to make things better. Let me show you a picture of the transformation that I had. From the very far left, that's me as a rock star. Well, rock star in my mind. I was a traveling musician, a professor, but in the summers I toured with different rock bands. In the middle, you can see me as a teacher and kind of what happened to me. I got not just large, but I got round. I was holding a lot of water. All of a sudden, I had diabetes. I was eating so much candy, I was trying to eat my hurt away. In fact, I was keeping a secret. I was keeping a very big secret. And it wasn't until two things happened. First, I decided to get a coach, somebody to help me. Now, I had a therapist and I had doctors, but I kept gaining weight. I kept getting slower. I kept just feeling sluggish. And you're thinking, well, why are you here during a business summit where most people here, not all, but most, are business folks? Well, because my secret that I was holding was causing me to gain weight, be resentful, not have trust issues. And that, even though I was a workaholic, that comes off and influences my productivity and how well I do. While I was working really long hours, I wasn't really getting ahead. I wasn't going where I wanted. I wasn't making the money that I wanted. And I certainly wasn't living the lifestyle that I wanted. Well, I'm not alone. 97% of the population has secrets. And that doesn't cause all of these things that I said. But those, well, on average, actually, each one of us holds 13 secrets. Other people's secrets, our own secrets. And it takes a lot of energy to manage those. You see, the secret I was holding was a marriage that was going bad. It was getting worse and worse and worse. And our sex life had died out for the most part. In fact, he told me, I should go take care of myself, but don't fool around. And I knew what he was talking about. My little sister was gay and she was dating a woman and she was happy. And I was wondering, well, am I gay? What is going on here? I needed to talk to somebody. And that's when it started to change for me to get better. And I'm not alone. People are keeping secrets about infidelity, fantasies, desires, drug addiction, gambling, something that we feel guilty about or shameful about, or that people won't like us. And there comes a cost with that holding of secrets. Let's take a look at three different areas: the physiology, the emotion, and the spirituality that is all affected by holding secrets. Let's take a look at some slides. Michael Slepian in 2019 said, "The real problem with keeping a secret is not that you have to hide it, but you have to live with it and think about it. Whether it's about your romantic partner, your family, your work, your friends, your spiritual community, it truly makes us feel inauthentic. But it also affects our body. And that's why I have this slide up about neuroscience. Neuroscientists describe what happens to our brains when we keep secrets. You see, the cortex of the brain is the logical lobe. It signals other parts of the brain to share information, to perform important functions like learning, and the cortex becomes stressed when we hold secrets. The prefrontal cortex stimulates the mind and imagines all the negative outcomes that comes out of this secret. I don't know about you, but I call it monkey mind. I read that in a Buddhist book somewhere, and it explained about your mind just going around and around and around in circles, obsessing on this negative thought. Well, the prefrontal cortex is the area involved in decision making and complex thought and deception. So you certainly don't want to keep that part of the brain busy when you have some very important decisions to make, like driving, right? If the prefrontal cortex wins the battle over keeping this secret, it ramps up the stress hormones. This is what was happening to me. This is also known as the fight or flight response. And you see, I was in this extreme hormonal acceleration that, with the stress growing that large, so was the cellulite in my body. So was the fat cells. And I just getting larger and larger and larger, more bloated, um, and holding more water in my body. These stress hormones called cortisol can surge, impacting our memory, our blood pressure, our gastrointestinal tract, and our metabolism. So that's basically what happened to me. My metabolism became almost stopped. I would eat and I wouldn't go to the bathroom for days and days. And that's what this high stress level does for any kind of stress. So if you're a workaholic as well, it's something to think about. I had to change my life. And thank goodness I had a coach which held me accountable and called me out when I was working more on work and not taking care of myself. And you see, the bigger the secret or secrets that we're holding, the higher the anxiety and the more potent fight or flight response that we have. Now, it affects men and women very differently. Men that were in a doctoral program with me, the men seemed to lose weight when they were stressed and had a hard time keeping the weight on. Women, we tended to gain weight and we couldn't lose it. And that's because the stress kept coming and it didn't matter what diet that we tried. It also, having this high cortisol level, also affects our sleep. We get moody, we get ill tempered, and all of that are effects of having a high cortisone level. And last but not least, it weakens our immune system. Our immune system fights off diseases and colds with a um, metabolism that's that slow and a weakened immune system. That's one cause of osteoporosis and the bones that are brittle and getting smaller. It's also the cause of increased blood pressure, the loss of collagen in our skin, which causes wrinkles. Now, I don't want to be superficial like that. I actually was pretty lucky because I kept getting heavier and heavier and heavier, and it pushed the fat into the wrinkles. And I didn't wrinkle that much, but I think that was genetics. I see other people age very quickly when they're under a lot of stress. So that's one area that is affected by keeping secrets, our physiology. Now, let's take a look at our emotionality. Our emotions, if we look at ourselves first, and if you seem that you're unable to enjoy life, one of the causes is that you are exerting yourself a little bit too much in other parts of your being. If your mind is racing all of time and you feel this negativity and you're irritable and moody, it's emotionally fatiguing, exhausting to go to work with a great big smile on your face, show up at your grandmom's house and give her a big hug and pretend that you're happy. Depression hits harder, anxiety hits harder. If you already have those um, mental health challenges, the keeping of a secret um, expands and, and tries our soul as we're trying to deal with mental challenges that we might have. Emotionally, we also have to look at how holding secrets affects our partner or even close friendships because we realize that trust and relationships go hand in hand. If there's no trust, there's no connectivity and there's no bond. It also affects communication. We know that communication is one of the most important things to be able to do well with your romantic partner. Well, if you're holding secrets, you're not sharing, you're not communicating. And it gets more and more complicated in a conversation if you're you can't talk about a certain thing or around a certain thing that's part of what you want to talk about. So it starts getting complicated and it gets harder and harder to remember the secrets and the details of avoiding that secret. And the longer we keep the secret, the stronger it affects our emotionality, our ability to connect with someone else. We start getting standoffish or putting walls up, right, around ourselves and our heart. We start, if we're fooling around, having infidelity with our spouse, we start being suspicious of our spouse that they're fooling around because we're holding that secret ourselves. The third area, other than physiology being affected, emotionality, is spirituality. Two major conditions that persons trapped in addiction, for example, feel are boredom and misery. And whenever I hear somebody's bored, I'm thinking, Don't they know there's so much to do in life? But before I kind of transformed into a different place, a healthier place, I was never bored, but I was quick to get angry at work. And I never got bored because I was working all the time. So if you're engaged in your addiction, you feel a high. But that high is going to leave. You're going to leave work. You're going to stop gambling. You're going to stop your drug use and come down. And then you're miserable. And then you're bored. And then you're seeking that high again. It's a vicious cycle that goes around and around and around. In this cycle, we tend to indulge in our addictions because we want to feel good again. And we could be seeking other people, but we're holding this secret because we're afraid of the shame and we feel this guilt. So we start covering up. We start using alibis. We start using excuses and lies. Miserable people feel the hurts of their past. They feel powerless in the present, and they absolutely fear their future. Now, this might all seem really depressing, but I have good news. Remember, I told you I had this transformation. Well, again, I had a really good coach. You know, I mentioned earlier about therapists, and I'll mention them again in a moment. But let's take a look at solutions. What can you do? Neuroscientists, they say that if we confide our secrets, they've actually done studies and they've seen that sharing our secrets with somebody actually reduces how often our mind wanders towards the secret in moments of not particularly doing anything or concentrating on anything. The sharing of the secret with somebody is cathartic and it's relieving. But more important, um, we feel that we need emotional support from the person that we talk to. We need guidance from the person we talk to, or we need helpful advice. Um, Another solution neuroscientists talk about is just avoid keeping other people's secrets because it affects us almost the same, whether it's our secret or somebody else's secret. And I came from a family that had so many secrets. Now, you might remember that in the beginning of this presentation, I said that I had a secret. And that secret that I was holding was destroying my life. And all of these physical consequences came from it. And I mentioned, I thought, well, am I gay? Am I homosexual? Am I attracted to women because my husband doesn't want to have sex with me? And I felt guilty because in my head, I was thinking that maybe I was a lesbian. Now, in the past, this sharing when I was younger might have been a sharing I did with a priest. But growing up Catholic, I knew this was a secret I couldn't share with a priest. They told me in Mass that this was not something that people should do or think about, and you're a sinner. So I was embarrassed. I was feeling shame, and I felt guilt. And this could be about many things. It doesn't have to be your sexual orientation. It could be how much you eat. It could be that you run all the time and you avoid your family because you want that high of the run. And a lot of people are really into exercise, and that's great. But when you're into any activity, whether it's fantasizing or doing, and you avoid your responsibilities in other part of your life, then it's a problem. And it's also a problem if it affects your physiology. So what else? Well, There's a gentleman named Landerer in 2019 that studied secrets, and they said that it's very important that we feel in control of the telling of our secret. So, how do you tell a friend? How do you tell a partner about this secret that you have? Well, you need to decide ahead of time what the parameters are going to be in that conversation. Are you wanting them just to listen? Are you asking for support and for them to give advice? Or do you want them just to wait till you're finished talking and then have an exchange of ideas? Those conversations are hard, but it does, as the neurologists say, and the psychologists say, and coaches who work with individuals and groups also say the telling of the secret to somebody does help all of those negative physical responses. Um, if we use drugs, for example, or any other addiction, a lot of times we escape our addiction through another addiction. So there are counselors. So if your problem is addiction and that's the secret that you're holding, there are very good addiction counselors. And if you tell them your secret, that you're using drugs, that you're drinking too much, um, you're interested in pornography too much all of the time, and it's affecting your relationship. An addiction counselor is a great avenue to help improve your life so that you feel better and you could produce better in the workplace and you can have a more loving relationship at home. I'm a sexologist. What I do is coaching. And the reason I do coaching is sometimes when you go to a therapist, talk therapy, they don't have the information to be able to give you as to where you can go to satisfy your desires or an alternative way to work with your desires, your secrets, your fantasies, so that you can feel fulfilled in your life. Many therapists don't know that much about sexual orientation or polyamory or other forms of sexual expression. In fact, 50% of all individuals that go to therapists, half, keep secrets like this about sex and sexuality from their therapists. They feel embarrassed to talk about their infidelity because they've grown to like the therapist and they don't want the therapist to think something bad about them. And I have found that many therapists are very uncomfortable talking about sex. I offer workshops for therapists, and sometimes they're very poorly attended. They're they don't want to talk about it, or they don't need to know that. But when you come to them with your desires and your fantasies, and you think something's wrong with you need to be able to talk it through, or you hold that secret, and that becomes one of your average 13 secrets. So, what do you do about spirituality? How do you work with feeling unfulfilled? How do you work to feel a connection with other people? This sense of spirituality is very important for all people. Now, I'm not necessarily talking about religion. Your sense of spirituality might be religion, and that connection is important because when we hold secrets and we ruminate over and over again in our psyche about them, it affects us negatively. But if we see that there's something bigger than ourselves, then we don't obsess on ourselves that much. We're just a small piece of a very large world, of a very large universe, of, if you believe in a heaven or another dimension, right? That we are just a small part of what exists. So the key is to live authentically. And that's what's most important. So I hope this presentation was helpful for you. I hope I said something that might have hit you in a certain way about secrets. As I said, some of us come from families that have a lot of secrets, and we have to unlearn what we learned growing up. We might be married to somebody who holds lots of secrets, and we're kind of thrown into this secret world. And it does take a toll on all of us. So, in order to bloom and blossom as a person and a personality, or a worker, or a manager, or a business person, or a friend or lover, it's important that we manage our secrets and push ourselves to a place that we're healthy in our body, in our emotions, and in our spirit. So that's a presentation. Now, Rebecca asked me to do two things for you today. So, first, I am going to share with you a gift. And the gift is an informational download, a download called Aphrodite's 14 Secrets. You see, in the United States this week, it was Valentine's Day. I don't know. Do you celebrate Valentine's Day? If you do, it's all about our lovers and spoiling them. And you might not be the most creative person in the world, or you've been dating someone for a while, or you're married to somebody and you want some fresh ideas. Well, what I did, from the goddess of love, inspired me, and I wrote down 14 ideas to enhance the romance in your life. And I hope you enjoy that list, and I hope you try some. Even if you're single, some of those things on that list you can do by yourself. The second thing, Rebecca asked me as part of this Fire Up Summit to give an offer, something that would be reduced. So I have a $397 course, and I'm going to take $200 off for anyone who attended this summit. So for $197, you could take a course. It's a self-directed course. All the videos, all the activities, all of the writing prompts, reflection are all online. You do this by yourself. And I take you through 3 modules. The purpose of this course, called Aphrodite Secrets, is to help you get past embarrassment, gain more confidence, and overcome challenges that might come your way if you're ready to explore some of your desires and fantasies. And you do this in private. So let's take a look at the course. Module 1 is all about your mindset. It helps you move past any kind of embarrassment, but also barriers. Like you learn growing up that you shouldn't do this, or you shouldn't do that, or you shouldn't even think this. We need to get past that guilt and that shame, and we need to honestly look at sexuality and yourself and all that matches up. The second module is all about possibilities. Not anything that you have to do, but this module is created to help you investigate who you are, your identity, and take a look at your erotic and romantic desires. At the end of this section, I hope you're more confident, that you know what you want, because that's part of the whole situation of dissatisfaction or keeping a secret, that you have these ideas but you don't want to share. So, after we get past the embarrassment in module 1 and we have a little bit more confidence after module 2, module 3 is all about exploration, helping you have those tough conversations with your spouse or partner, and to help you stay safe if you choose to travel into new communities and experiment. This section, Module 3, is designed to help you get past challenges that would get in your way of exploration. Again, this course is normally $397. I have it on sale just for this group for $197. And it's self-directed, it's by yourself. There's nothing to be embarrassed about. And you have access to this course for a year. I know you might be really busy this week or next week, but you can do it any time that you want. It's important that you move through the whole course if you want to feel the transformation. And I know you will, because a lot of folks in my Facebook group have taken the course. I have a Facebook group for support, and a lot of I have a women's Facebook group, and a lot of women join the group and they keep the support going. Men, on the other hand, tend to, after the course, think about my coaching because the men that I've worked with are more problem solvers and they see this as a problem and they want to get past it. So they do coaching for 12 weeks and they work with me every week. And because they want the problem part of this to go away and they want to have the transformation to feel better and to live the life that they want. So the Facebook group is only open to women. Coaching is open to women and men. But what I would like you to think about is, do I want to take a walk through my own psyche, through my own desires, and be honest with myself? I hope you do. In the meantime, stay safe, stay fun, stay sexy, and don't let anybody dim your shine. Till next time.